Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Penn Vicarage on this Thursday morning. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us today for our Bible reflection. Hope you're well, and let's get stuck into the scriptures now. We're working our way through the incredible book of Proverbs. Listen, children, to a father's instruction, and be attentive that you may. She will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Penn Vicarage on this Thursday morning. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us today for our Bible reflection. Hope you're well, and let's get stuck into the scriptures now. We're working our way through the incredible book of Proverbs. As I said a few days ago, not a book I know well, but a book which I'm getting into and really enjoying and finding very, very helpful. But today is Proverbs and chapter 4, so here goes. Listen, children, to a father's instruction, and be attentive that you may gain insight. For I give you good precepts. Do not forsake my teaching. When I was a son with my father, tender and my mother's favourite, he taught me and said to me, let your heart hold fast my words. Keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. The beginning of wisdom is this. Get wisdom, and whatever else you get insight. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honour you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a fair garland. She will bestow on you a beautiful crown. Hear, my child, and accept my words, that the years of your life may be many. I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you in the paths of uprightness. When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble. Keep hold of instruction, do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it, and do not go on it. Turn away from it, and pass on. For they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. They are robbed of sleep unless they have made someone stumble. For they eat the bread of wickedness, and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. The day of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what they stumble over. My child, be attentive to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them escape from your sight. Keep them within your heart. For they are life to those who find them, and healing to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Put away from you crooked speech, and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Keep straight the path of your feet, and all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, Proverbs chapter 4. Essentially, the whole chapter is about a father teaching his talk to his son about wisdom and the importance of having it, and about getting more of it. So the whole thing is about you've got a father talking to his son, or could be his child, and talking about the importance of wisdom. And about the importance of getting it, and the more you get it, the more you get of it, and is extolling wisdom. But you very much got it's just like, let me teach you, my child. It's kind of like that. So you've got a wise father teaching his son the importance of wisdom. The other thing which is quite interesting about the whole chapter is the way that wisdom is described as she, if you notice that. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. Here, wisdom is like personified. Wisdom is called she. And I think what it's really saying is that wisdom is so kind of important, that wisdom is kind of personified like this. The wisdom is given a personality, and I do think this is quite an interesting reflection. So across the whole chapter, you've got it's the words of a father speaking to his son. Let me teach you, my son, the good ways to go through life. And wisdom's really important, but wisdom is so important that wisdom is described as she rather than it, which I think is quite interesting as well. So across the whole chapter, you've got father teaching son about the importance of wisdom and just how important wisdom is. After that, there are essentially, you can cut the chapter into 3 sections. The first one is verses 1 to 9. Beg your pardon. And it's really about the importance of lifelong learning, really. And to make this point, the father talks about when he sat on his father's knee and was told about wisdom. So he's saying, my father taught me this, and now I'm teaching you. And it's a lovely picture, really. As my father taught me, so I am now teaching you. And of course, if you think this is written by Solomon, of course, he sat on the knee of the great King David. David, of course, was a very wise king too. Didn't always get it right, but he was a pretty vast majority of the time he did. Probably the greatest king Israel ever had. And he talks here about sitting on his listening to his father's words years before. But there is, of course, an irony which I do need to tell you about, because that Solomon started well. And of course, as time went on, he got worse and worse. I said to you a couple of days ago, he got worse and worse as a king. He got less and less wise. He got more and more distracted by other things, foreign women and all sort of stuff. His mind got more and more distracted. And in a sense, like I said, like a piece of meat that's left on the side too long, he kind of went rotten and got worse and worse and worse. The other irony, of course, is that he talks here about talking to his son about wisdom. Solomon's son was Rehoboam, and if you read about it in 1 Kings chapter 12, Rehoboam was an extremely unwise, jumped up little twerp, really. And when Solomon died and Rehoboam became king, he acted very foolishly and very arrogantly. And I want to say, if only he'd listened to his father's words. So in his chapter, in verses 1 to 9 here, You've got the importance of what Solomon is saying here is, I sat on my father's knee. I listened to the words of my father. He taught me wisdom. And as my father taught me, I'm now teaching you. But I think a little caveat I want to say is, if only Solomon had actually done it, perhaps Rehoboam would have become a better king after him. But there we go. So, as I say, verses 1 to 9 are about, I listened to my father, I'm now teaching you. Then in verses 10 to 19, you have laid before you here 2 paths. There is the way of wisdom and there's the way of the wicked. And what's quite clear here is that there are 2 ways to go. You can go one way or you can go the other. The Bible does this sometimes. Another example of this is Psalm 1, if you want to look it up, about the importance of, blessed, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And in life, we have to make choices, and we have a choice between, in life, we make moral choices. We have a choice, we have a choice to follow Jesus or not. We have a choice to live life God's way or not. We can be motivated by God's will and the goodness of God and the kingdom of God, or we can be motivated by other things instead. But what I think is quite interesting here is that the writer here, Solomon, lays out that there's 2 paths. What's clear, though, also is that people can get zealous for God, but people can also get zealous for evil as well. And I suppose one of the interesting things to notice is that people can get motivated to do good. People can also get very motivated for evil as well. And Jesus told us that there will be people who will persecute us in the future, and when doing so, we'll think they're doing right. So, as I said, I think verses 10 to 19 remind us that there are 2 paths, and that we have to make choices. And the importance is about being wise all the time, not just deciding to follow Jesus once, but continuing to follow Jesus continually. And we have to continually make choices and make sure that we, my friends, are walking on the path of wisdom rather than the path of the wicked. Then finally, in verses 20 to the end, we have the importance about actively listening to wisdom. As I said, what I've just said just now, Getting wisdom is not just about a one-off getting it and that's it. You have to continually seek it. Jesus told us to get up and take up our cross daily and follow him. It's not just something we do once, it's something we have to continue to do. We have to remind us each day. So for each day we have to follow Jesus. He talks about the importance of being attentive to my words, carry on listening. It wasn't just something you did in the past, it's something we need to continue. We need to continue to be attentive to the words of wisdom. But I think what's also interesting in these verses 20 to 27 is that it's a whole body thing too. So in verse 23, he talks about keeping your heart, which is here, keep your heart with all vigilance. So keep our emotions, listening to wisdom. In verse 24, it's about our mouth. Put away crooked speech and devious talk far from you. So the importance of using our mouths for God. Verses 25 are about our eyes. Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze straight before you. Our eyes point where we're going in our life, and we need to keep our eyes focused on Jesus. We need to keep our eyes focused on listening to God and listening to wisdom. We need to keep listening. We need to keep looking and keep going straight on. Always the analogy I often use is if you're driving a car, you're going in a straight line, but you have to keep correcting it, and otherwise you would all go off the road. And it's the importance of keeping attentive, keeping awake. So we're not doing the spiritual equivalent of falling asleep at the wheel. We need to keep listening to God. And in verses 26, 27, it's about our feet. So you got here in 23 our heart, 24 our mouth, 25 our eyes, 26 and 7 our feet. The importance is being attentive to God and about something we need to keep on doing. It's not just something we do once, but it's something we need to keep on doing. We need to keep listening to God and keep putting ourselves in the right and in God's direction. The importance of carrying on, as a continuous thing, listening to what God is saying to us. So an interesting chapter, as they all are, aren't they? It's like a father speaking to his son about wisdom and the absolute importance of getting wisdom. In verses 1 to 9, you've got the fact that it's a lifelong thing, and the writer is saying, as I listened to my father, so now I'm teaching you, my son. He reminds himself of the days when he so to speak sat on King David's knee and listened to him, and the wisdom he's now teaching, he's imparting. So he speaks like a father to a son. He listened to his father, so he's saying we should do it now. Verses 10 to 19, pointing out that we have to make choices, and that life is continually choices. Actually, we need to continually walk on God's way. And that sometimes we have to actively make choices to choose to follow wisdom, to choose to follow Jesus. And then finally in verses 20 to 27, the importance of carrying on listening, of being attentive with your heart, with your mouth, with your eyes, with your feet, presenting your whole body, as Romans chapter 12 says, as a living sacrifice, to God, not just once for all, but continuously to keep on walking, keep on looking, and keep listening to God's word today. Friends, I hope that's helpful. Lots to think about there. Read the chapter again, Proverbs chapter 4. More tomorrow. God bless you. Have a lovely Thursday. Thanks for watching, and do please forward these messages to your friends.